Fisher. Say the intention for our time.
Yes, and thank you. I'd love to start this with an intention for our time together. So my intention is for our conversation to be encouraging, encouraging with ourselves and with our viewers and everyone around us who interacts with us, that we may be edifying and glorifying to our higher purposes, that we may learn and be encouraged into the ease of our pathways toward our self-realization as we unify together. May we be healthy, and may we be encouraged, and may we enjoy this conversation. May truth be the reverberating speech through our lips. May we renounce any egotistical focus that this may provoke. May the tea be delicious. Amen.
I want to say intention and prayer that we can ground in our breath. We can bring mindful awareness to deep, healing breaths. I want to set an intention for honesty. I want to set an intention for vulnerability. I want to set an intention for humility. And I want to set an intention for channel of divine source. I want to pray against any anxiety, any negativity, any evil, any feelings of inferiority or shame. They have no place here. They have no place in this conversation. They have no place in this house. They have no place with these people. And they have no place with our spirit. I pray that you lift up Stephen. I pray that you lift up this medium. I pray that you lift up everyone we come into contact with. And I pray that we vibrate love. Let everything else fade away. Be present in our conversation. And let this all be made at the empowerment of the Lord our God. Amen. Hello, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here in the great city of Austin, Texas. I am here visiting this weekend, celebrating my golden birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My birthday. And we are hosted by the humble Grant. Grant is offering us a space for me to visit. Stephen's been living here this month. And it is an honor and a privilege to be able to be here around these people. South by Southwest is going on. And there's so much happening, and to be a part of this has been incredible. So I'm here with one of my closest friends. It is an honor to be in his presence in the flesh, Stephen Fisher. So we are here in Austin. You're living here full time now. And I love to just talk a little bit about how we met. So we met about 1.5 years ago. I was living in Austin, probably one of the lowest points of my life, but that's where we met. And we met through a good friend of yours and a new friend of mine, Mark Murphy. And Mark and I met at Barton Springs, summertime, beautiful weather, getting in nature, and we spent our first night together grounded in tea. So Stephen is a huge proponent of tea. It's a big part of his life. He's worked as a barista before, and you have an ambition and goal in life to orient your life in some way where you can share your love of tea, your expertise of tea and coffee, but tea with the world. So, Stephen, do you want to tell us a little bit about tea? Just how you experience tea, why you enjoy tea, the tea that we're drinking right in front of you guys. Tell us a little more about tea.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Grant, for having us, and thanks, Jack, for hosting this conversation. I'm really stoked to be here and to just be sharing this space and this time with you. That's one thing I really love about tea is space and time. The way that the experience of sitting with tea allows me to expand my view of space and time and to understand it in deeper perspective, experientially.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of our deepest understandings of truth come about through our experiences. So, I am ADHD. I've been diagnosed, and much of my life I live in a very distracted fashion. What's next? Ooh, a squirrel, or coffee. Something exciting, shiny lights. And the practice of sitting with tea, gong fu cha, if you will, as it's referred to in China, where tea culture really began. It really allows for stillness, presence, and an expanded awareness. And to me, awareness is where our realization all starts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first step.
Yeah. So.
But tell us, because I think a lot of us drink tea and it's not a spiritual experience. We'll sip tea in the morning, we're reading the newspaper, or we'll be sipping tea and be watching TV. And it's not an experiential divine thing. So enlighten us. How is tea for you such an experience? Because I don't know if I've really felt that, and a lot of people I know have felt that.
I would argue that it is.
Tell me more.
Well, first off, perspective is everything.
Perspective is reality. Perception is reality.
And for me personally, I believe that everything is a spiritual experience. Even the mundane, reading the newspaper, frustrated, hungover, it's all a spiritual experience in some form or another. So whether it's a delightful spiritual experience or an uncomfortable one is a different matter. When it comes to tea, there's a lot of delight in that experience. So,
absolutely.
Little about tea, I love sharing facts. If you know
Fisher fun fact.
If you know me, Fisher, a lot of my friends call me Fisher, and I love sharing fun facts. So tea comes from a specific plant called Camellia sinensis. It's Camellia sinensis, and there are many different areas of the world, different growing environments that impact the nature of the tea, different processing techniques, especially oxidization, that influence the nature of the tea. And so in China, there are 6 specific types of tea. I say China because China is where tea culture began over 1,000 years ago. So it's one of the oldest traditions that we see in our world that bring people together. And that is what I really love about tea, is how it breaks down borders.
Yeah.
Borders of religion, borders of politics, borders of ethnicity. Every single border.
It's unifying.
Every single border is broken down, unless your nervous system is so sensitive to caffeine that it can't drink it. However, there are alternatives.
Herbal teas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herbal teas, often referred to as tisanes, are
Tisane.
Tisane.
Okay, I heard that term.
Because I just want to clarify again that tea comes from a specific plant, the Camellia sinensis plant. So if the infusion
Camellia, what?
sinensis.
The Camellia sinensis. Okay.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times.
Right, sinensis. So if you're making an infusion from another plant, it's technically not tea.
Mm-hmm.
Though our culture here
That's
in the
interesting.
West, we call chamomile tea or
Yeah.
hibiscus tea, they're actually two saints. So tea, the tea plant, as we know from Chinese culture, has been cultivated by humans for over 1,000 years. And there are tea plants, especially in this one region, kind of like if you compare it to wine, the Champagne region of tea. It's called Yunnan.
Yunnan.
Yunnan. Y-U-N-N.
In China?
In China. It's
China.
China.
Okay.
Y-U-N-N-A-N.
Okay.
And this is the region where some very ancient trees exist and are continue to be cultivated. And what happens with tea plants and other plants and other life forms alike is that when age comes about, we might notice this with elderly folks, like our grandparents, for example. There's great wisdom with our grandparents, right? Well, the same takes place with tea, of course, in a different form.
Yeah.
But we might dedicate it to the energy of the plants, like the chi or the prana.
What's chi?
Chi is simplified as life force energy.
Life force energy. And,
Yeah.
and it's rooted in Buddhism?
The term chi, I believe, comes from Buddhism. And
Okay.
prana is more from the Vedas, where Hindu religion comes
and
from.
that's also life force? Those are about the same?
Thing.
Okay, same
Means the
concept.
thing. Yeah.
I know Hinduism and Buddhism have ties. Okay, cool. Well, why don't you tell us a little about the West China Tea House that you've been hanging out at a little bit? If you are in Austin, then it could be a little plug.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're heading there later tonight. You're gonna serve tea, but we were there last night.
We were.
Tell a little bit about the West China Tea House. That's also where we met, so a special place in our hearts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that first weekend actually the first night.
First night.
Yeah,
It was the car on the way there.
That's right. When I was visiting Austin to see if I would like to move here and live here full time, West China Tea House was incremental in influencing me to decide to move here. In that the reason I moved here was I was seeking a place that had an abundance of conscious community that was focused on similar forms of sustainable focus and unity and things like growing our own food, autonomizing our behavior, taking responsibility for our life, really.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot here, but I especially saw it at Casa de Luz, which we go to quite a lot, and West China Tea House.
Concentrated aspects of energy there.
Yeah, and it's really community, right? So the tea,
Punny.
like we were talking about, tea breaks down borders, and so it's very inviting.
Yeah, it's communal. I think that's part of why we live, is to unify, and it can be a catalyst to that unification.
So West China Tea House, they have a wonderful format set up to facilitate this art of tea. It's circular, it's not so squared off, so you feel invited and welcome to stay a while, whether it's 10 minutes or I spent 10 hours there in a single day.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Just getting distracted by the people, I'm sure.
Not so distracted, I would say the opposite.
Okay, enjoying.
I would say enjoying the presence. Truly being present. So that's what I find when you get deeply steeped in the tea. I experience a deep presence with the expanded awareness of time and space. It's very difficult for me to...
Can you say that one more time?
The expanded awareness.
A deep presence.
A deep presence.
With the expanded awareness of time. So you say.
A deep presence with the expanded awareness of time and space.
I just thought that was beautifully said.
Thank you.
And it was spontaneous, but I wanted to highlight that. It was very beautiful. And the fact that you're crediting tea to that is also, that's high praise. if someone is saying that about anything, it's like, I am paying attention to that thing. But anyway, continue.
Well, one other thing that brings up for me what you just said is the awareness that we're drinking a form of life.
A form of life.
We are experiencing a form of life.
Tell me more.
As depicted in that Avatar movie, you've probably seen Avatar. The blue.
Last Airbender? No. I'm an
the
Airbender
blue,
guy, but we can talk about the blue people.
The blue people.
Yeah.
In that movie, there's a moment where Jake Sully hunts an animal, and he holds respect for this animal that he hunts and kills. And his girlfriend, I forget what her name is, but she she recognizes that he has realized the spiritual connection of life, that all energy is borrowed energy.
That's
so,
beautiful.
With
I didn't get that from watching Avatar.
Well, they say it explicitly, so watch it again.
It's been 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't seen the second. Thank you.
So, with that being said, I greatly recognize that with tea, especially in that there's a time capsule and a location capsule. For example, this tea that we're drinking right now, this is a pu'er.
Pu'er.
Pu'er. P-U-E-R-H.
Meaning boy in Latin. Fisher fun fact. I don't know if you knew that, but pu'er means boy in Latin.
I took Latin in elementary school.
Yeah, means boy. Look it up, guys.
I don't
Google it.
think that's true.
All right, you guys look it up on Google. Let me know. Grant, you can look this up.
The oracle.
What's the oracle?
Google.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently.
I mean, I think it would be accurate for Latin terms. I think we can trust it with Latin translation.
Oye, servant, child, lad, boy, slave, or chit.
I don't know what a shit is. A shit. But boy was said.
Okay.
Anyway.
So this tea,
cheers, by the way.
Salud. So this tea, for example, is a pu'er tea, meaning it's from the Yunnan region of China. This tea was harvested from tea plants in Yunnan in 2001. And it was pressed and has been aging since 2001. This tea in particular was purveyed by a man named David Lee Hoffman. He lives over in western Marin County, Lagunitas, in California. And he's quite a tea pioneer himself for the West, and his influence in China as well. But what I'm trying to say is, tea is a perfect example of a time capsule, and how life force energy can be preserved and transferred. And we experience that. So when we're drinking the tea, we feel an evocation. And a lot of this has to do with the nutrients that are found in the tea. But what I'm speaking about with the qi is that it's more on a metaphysical plane. Something that can't really be studied in a lab.
Measured, yeah.
Or measured, yeah. It's something that's experienced. So
that's beautiful. I think a lot of people listening now are probably craving that experience because they haven't felt it. But you are bringing an attention and awareness to it, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But all right, awesome. Good to talk about tea. It's always good to know more about things that we may not have gratitude and appreciation for. And tea is a commodity now that a lot of people have in their homes, but a lot of people, in my opinion, do not realize the potential power. So, shifting gears a little bit, I'd like to talk about the spiritual life. You have been a brother to me from a spiritual sense. And I think that is what has brought us so close as friends in a way that I haven't been able to connect with all of my other friends that I have in my life. Because we share a common desire and love for God that's rooted in the person of Jesus Christ.
We also have a very similar background.
We do have a very similar background. We do have a similar background.
So we can empathize with each other quite a bit.
There's a lot of parallels there, and also we always come from a place of no judgment, where we're trying to guide each other to God and help each other become the best men that we can be.
As Ram Dass said, we're just trying to lead each other home.
Lead each other home. Exactly. Literally that. But I think what also makes us different, part of our parallel, is that while we do follow Jesus, we do so in a non-traditional fashion. We're very open-minded. For example, you've mentioned Hindu practices and Buddhist practices with tea, right? That's something that, in my experience and exposure to classic Christianity, it's not very present. It says, Jesus is the way and the truth of the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Period. So Christians hold on to that as a way to divide by saying, we're Jesus followers, everyone else is satanic, pagans.
Right.
This is us, that is them.
That was my experience growing up in the church.
Enlightenment, oneness with God, pure ecstasy and love is all something that we desire. It's something that we think we feel in heaven, right? However, enlightenment is not a term that most Christians will use.
Mm-hmm.
They stray away from enlightenment because it has Buddhist roots.
I think there's more to it than
There's
that.
more to it, but let me finish my thought. Oneness with Source, closeness to God, abundance of love. These are all characteristics of what I would describe as enlightenment. Egolessness. Something that I feel called to do, that I feel like Jesus was calling us to do in the source of evangelization, is that it's not enough to purely evangelize and spread this word that everyone must intellectually come to the understanding that Jesus was God incarnate.
Right.
Because in my opinion, that is missing the spirit.
Right. The Bible even says
it's missing the heart of God. So I really do believe that true evangelization is sharing the Holy Spirit. True evangelization is sharing how Jesus changes hearts, sharing the love of God. True evangelization is coming to enlightenment yourself and sharing that enlightenment with others. Experiential enlightenment. And this is something that I do not feel is prioritized and focused in a lot of modern day Christianity.
Agreed.
However, I feel that it's very rooted into my mission in life, as well as your mission. That's why we're so aligned. But I'm not saying that there's salvation outside of Jesus. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think the messaging and focus needs to be rooted in source. Does that make sense?
100%.
What do you think of that?
Well, you said a lot right there.
I did say a lot.
Can you be more specific with your question?
Do you have anything to respond? You might not, and we can go to the next topic.
No, I like this topic a lot.
You could just say retweet.
I like this topic a lot.
You could just say heck yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. You know, having grown up in a Christian household and going to church every Sunday with my family. Yeah, one little factor I'd like to point out that speaks to this, a lot of Christians don't consider much. Jesus was not a Christian.
Jesus was a Jew.
Jesus was a Jew. And when Jesus resided on this earth, at least what is told about in the Gospels of the Bible, is his life was constantly demonstrating enlightenment to those that claimed they
The Pharisees.
were the Pharisees, typically,
Yeah.
and primarily.
The
That they claimed that
Gentiles.
they had the resume to be the authority of all spiritual.
Yeah, which sounds like Christians today.
Sounds like
Right?
Christians today.
Would you agree? Okay.
Right. Many Christians today. And this is not exclusive to Christianity.
Dude, that is very insightful.
This is not exclusive to Christianity.
Yeah, it's pride is what it's rooted in, which is right.
Ego, pride.
Ego, and pride are intertwined.
And disconnection from God. I want to ask you a question. What is sin?
Jeffrey would say karma. That's what Jeffrey said sin is. Jeffrey said it was karma and conditioning.
Well, that's Jeffrey's definition. What's your definition?
My Catholic school definition is turning away from God. That's what they said. Sin is.
I think that is more precise than karma.
Okay, that's what they said.
But at the same time,
I think sin is separation from God. That's how I would describe it.
not all karma is sin. Some karma is sin, but not all karma
Yeah,
is sin.
that's how I would describe it, as separation from God. That's what sin is,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yes. But it's not clear though what separates us from God. You experience it, but how do you teach your children or the population or yourself what is separation from God?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's
Yeah,
really cool.
like in a very tangible way.
Yeah.
Like we can talk about like theory, but on a day-to-day breakdown, like what is sin? Like what is real sin?
You and I both studied economics. How applicable is a lot of what we learn in university? It's
all
very
theory.
theoretical,
Yeah.
you know. But what really matters is what action we can take to move toward the experience.
Yeah. So
And that
okay. So keep going.
experience.
Keep going. I think
So-
you're onto something.
A friend that I met at Bhakti Festival. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term Bhakti. Bhakti is a path to enlightenment under the Hindu religion. Stems from the Vedas. It's the path of devotion.
Okay.
And man, this festival, I was serving organic, plant-based Ayurvedic paleo food with this wonderful woman, Lydia.
Lydia.
You know Lydia? You know Lydia?
I don't know Lydia.
Lydia's great. She is a goddess.
That's high praise.
At this festival, there was a lot of experience of abundant
What was the
love.
festival?
Bhakti.
Landing in a bottle? Oh.
Bhakti Festival. It was held in Joshua Tree. And Bhakti meaning devotion. There's many devotees who are devoted toward enlightenment, devoted toward praise of the Most High God.
Yeah.
And not from a Christian perspective at all. However, I met a brother named Bhagavan Das. He goes by Bhagavan Das.
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan Das.
Reminds me of Tiger King.
And
Bhagavan. Well, he called himself Bhagavan.
okay,
It means spiritual teacher in
Mm.
some religion.
I see.
Sorry, keep going.
So I
Intrusive thoughts.
felt a
all.
lot of resonance with Bhagavan Das, and we became friends, and we just talked about spiritual topics oftentimes, and we talked about Jesus and Christianity, and I asked him this question. He gave me an analogy that really hit home for me. He's like, those washing machines, not the top-down washing machines, but the front-load washing machines where you can see it spinning.
Yeah.
Union with God is at the center.
Mm.
However, with the Maya, which is, in short, the illusion and the weight of the world,
Mm.
for this is Satan's world, the Maya world. This is a world of distraction,
Yeah.
filled with distraction.
I think everyone would agree with that.
And so this term Maya speaks to that. When we live life day by day, we inherit, or we have a choice, but we oftentimes inherit the influence of the Maya, the weight, the sludge
Yeah.
that makes us feel refreshed when we take a shower, or when we go to a retreat, or a spa, or something like that, because the Maya has influenced us. The same reason why a child seems a lot more bright-eyed, bushy-tailed than a 40-year-old who's been working 60 hours a week.
Yeah, they lose that childlike wonder.
So
it's sad.
The Maya, going back to the washing machine analogy, is when the washing machine turns on, all the clothes are moving toward the outside, and now they're separated from that center point of unity.
And
God.
you're talking about sin still, right? Okay.
So that is sin.
The distance.
The sin.
Yeah,
Allowing
you're
the
still
Maya
there. You're still with God, but there's some separation.
Allowing the Maya to influence us
Yeah.
brings us into sin.
Got it.
When we are in union with God, I believe, we don't sin. The Maya has no hold over us.
Interesting.
Whether it's a super sexy woman that, wants us to cheat on our spouse, that's one form of Maya. Maybe a really strong one, or
Whatever. Yeah.
Stealing, justifications. These are all stronger elements of Maya. There's lighter elements of Maya, like energies that we can't see.
Maybe lying, dishonesty.
Sure, I would say those are even strong. That is the result of lying, but what is it that influenced that result?
Oh, concupiscence, tendency to sin. I don't know if you know that word, but
I'm not familiar, but
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Concupiscence.
concupiscence. You can
Yeah.
look that one up too, Grant.
When we are outside of union with God, when we begin to stray, if you will,
Yeah.
we trust in our own devices, which are imperfect. And as you and I both know, right, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
We are more prone to be influenced by the Maya, whether it's light or heavy. When we live in complete union with God, or in an enlightened state of being, no matter how heavy the Maya is, it doesn't influence us to sin.
Yeah.
And so this is why I believe self-realization is of utmost importance in our life.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up. And if anyone's listening, this might sound like spiritual talk that you have no relation to. When you hear Stephen talking about tea, or about God, about spirit, about religion, it might sound like a hymn kind of thing. It might sound like his own experience. It might feel really hard to relate with those feelings you mentioned before. The beauty of tea is something that needs to be experienced. The beauty of God is something that needs to be experienced. You can talk about how much you love God. And I can have awareness for how much you love God. And I can be happy that you have a connection with God. But for my own connection with God, I need to experience that source.
And so it brings about its truth in your perspective.
So for any of you guys listening, and I've been there. I've been agnostic most of my life. I grew up Catholic, but there was a large separation between what I was theologically learning and what I was feeling in my heart and in my being. For a long time, people would talk about their relationship with God and how it changed their lives, and I'd say, I'm glad you have that comfort, but I don't feel that. I don't feel anything. What I feel is alone. I feel confused. I see a lot of different religions that say a lot of different things about some God that's there. But the only thing that I really see is my life, my physical attachments, my idols and distractions, there was no God there. If that's you, I feel you. That was me. That was me. So much so that I became nihilistic, depressed, lost, confused. A lot of the emotional issues you may have might stem from spiritual uncertainty. And if that's you, we mentioned this earlier, the first step is awareness.
Yeah.
The first step is just looking up. Look up from whatever you feel like you worship, whatever you feel like you really care about, whatever you feel like you get out of bed in the morning for. Look up from that, because if it's not rooted in an eternal source, it's fleeting. If it's a person, they will die. If it's a business, it will expire. If it's any physical thing, it's constricted to this physical world. This too shall pass. So if that's you, I feel you. And it's okay to be where you're at. And we're not even coming from a place that we feel we're better than.
That's important to specify.
Yeah, and I really want to make this clear. I am of equal value. Fisher is of equal value to every single human being. There's no.
I know more than you.
I know more than you. I don't know anything. I know nothing. I know nothing.
But
every higher vibration that I feel is a gift from God. But my point is this. Bring awareness to your spirit. Bring awareness to the higher values that you felt in your life. Think about the times that you have felt love. Everyone talks about love is the secret to life, whatever. It's trite for a reason. Think about the times that you have experienced love. Who have you talked to when you've experienced love? What were you doing? What was that feeling when you get goosebumps, when you feel like energy overcomes you? If you've ever felt this, sit with yourself and be really introspective. Have you ever felt this? And continue to develop that concept of love. Surround yourself with people that care about love, because not everyone has that in their heart. And you will become more and more a result of the people you interact with, the energies you swap with. So, long story long, this is all to say, if the spiritual walk is something that you feel you're just starting or you're not comfortable with, there's hope. And it all begins with you. It doesn't begin with me. It doesn't begin with Fisher. It doesn't begin with your parents. It doesn't begin with your church. It doesn't begin with your pastor. Those are all teachers. Those are all influences. Those are all energies. It begins with source. It begins with God. And fundamentally it begins with you. It is your connection to source. Everything else will fade away. Every person you know will fade away. So, that is all to say, do the walk yourself. Do the work yourself. And never give up on hope, because there is redemption. And that is something that I am certain of.
I want to bring one thought that you just said came to me, is that though awareness is the first action step toward enlightenment, it seems that curiosity is the first step of free will to take toward realizing and receiving awareness. Would you agree?
I think curiosity is an active ingredient of awareness.
Yes.
I think those are
That's where our free will
intricately intertwined.
comes to play.
Yeah.
There are these energetic patterns that are referred to commonly in the Hindu religion, for example, as samskaras.
Yeah, samskar. Yep.
Samskaras are repeated patterns that pervade due to habitual action. And these samskaras are karmic loops that will continue based on their momentum unless we use our free will to break them
Yes.
and change them.
It's like the generational trauma. It's the same principle.
Right.
You have to break the generation. Yeah.
Right.
Same principle.
So that act of free will is basically what I believe is our greatest gift, to allow us to make the choice to be free. The choice to embark on the path.
A lot of people would disagree with you that we have free will. That's a whole different conversation. But there are a lot of people watching that will say that we don't have free will. It's an illusion.
Sure. That's another debate in and of
Yeah,
itself.
we don't have to get into that. I just want to say that.
Noted.
Yeah. And I think it's important to acknowledge those viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
I think they fundamentally end in nihilism, which isn't helpful for the human spirit, but different conversation.
What do you think about this tea?
I told you pu'er is my favorite tea, so I'm a big fan.
Have you ever had a shung pour?
Last night.
That was a shu.
I'm still learning, guys.
So shu means right.
Shu and shampoo, who knew those were separate entities?
Yeah.
I thought it was tomato. Nope. Apples and oranges.
Shu, show,
Apparently. Why can't fruit be compared?
shung. So shung means raw,
Yeah.
and shu means ripe. This is the green tea version of.
I love green tea. Oh, is this green tea?
This is green tea, but it's aged green tea.
It tastes like a mix of green and black. I've never had something like this before, but I really like it.
It is incredibly.
Do you seep it
particular,
like a green or seep it like a black?
like a green? So that's why I'm tasting a bit of
Bitterness.
astringency.
Astringency was the word.
Astringency, it's different than bitterness. It's often confused with bitterness. But you know it's astringency when your tongue feels dry.
Dry like a wine.
Yeah, dry after taking a sip.
Yeah.
Like it's.
That's how wine is oftenly characterized.
And that's because the temperature was probably a bit too hot to have a nice, smooth.
You don't
extraction.
have the electronic thing that they have, right? Where you can modify the temperature of the tea
I do, but
electronically.
I have a fixed temperature in the sky.
What? 160?
I think it started at 212. I don't know what it's at right now.
212? That's way too hot for a green.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I'm not the tea expert.
What I can do, let it cool down.
I have to have some humility. Alright. Awesome. Let's get into our next conversation. So, we're in Austin.
South by Southwest.
South by Southwest is going on. There's something freeing about Austin. There's something in the air here. I feel fluidity to where in Dallas, my hometown, I feel there's a certain level of rigidity. And I love that. I think there's an awakening going on here in Austin. I think there's a lot of spiritual people here in Austin. I think the vibe is elevated in Austin to where I really do appreciate it. However, when you're around spiritual people, it can be intoxicating. Because these feelings, emotions, these thoughts you've had, this whole world that you've been open to is being felt and reciprocated by those that you're coming into contact with. To where, and if we reflect on a lot of our conversations, a lot of them are spiritual. Because we feel that we are living in this spiritual state so frequently. We spend a lot of time at Casa de Luz, West China Tea House when we're here. So we are more and more walking alongside with, sharing energies with very spiritual people. And nature of that is very spiritual conversation. So, a question for you. Can you be too spiritual? Can you go too far? Can you be so in this spiritual walk that you kind of lose yourself? You lose your grounding. You become unrealistic, become unrelatable. Just, it's like, bro, like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, bro. You know, like, is that a concern? Especially as for someone who lives in Austin, who's all around this all the time.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
I would say yes and no. Read the room. Know your audience and get to know who you are exchanging energies with, as you shared. Who you are.
Well said.
Who is receiving your share. Like you said, we often spend time at Casa de Luz or West China Tea with people who are already spiritually inclined.
Yeah.
I'll say. I don't want to use the term spiritual people because I would
Everyone's
argue
spiritual?
everyone is spiritual. Everyone
But
is
not
a
everyone's
spirit.
aware.
Not everyone is aware. For example, I believe we're all on the same team.
Yeah,
Some of
that's
us
the
just
lie.
Some of us just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah, we all are, dude. Like unity. Unity in love and God is literally like the purpose of life.
Yeah.
And because of a lot of the world that we live in, that is broken down in division and power and ego and control, which is at an antithesis of our true identity.
Yes. That being said, there are certainly moments where I am even annoyed, if you will, by people who are
Over spiritualizing.
over-spiritualizing
Yeah.
things.
Speaking down to other people, speaking from a state of arrogance, speaking from a state of I know better than you.
Or lacking presence
Yeah.
with
And you and I have probably done that too.
lacking
For being honest,
organization
we've probably
presence.
been over the top.
There's comedy about this.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
spiritual comedy is some of the best.
Those Instagram posts you sent, those are funny.
Yeah, bringing.
Is there anyone that you could mention?
Kyle Lipton is one.
But like a thing that he did that was so funny. There's one that had me dying. I don't know. We don't have to.
Yeah,
I just thought it was
a lot
so
of
funny.
people are really deep into plant medicine, and I think these are wonderful medicines. However, some people get so into it that they lose their grounding of life. We have the basic necessities: shelter, providence,
Food,
resources to buy food if we're not growing our own,
sex, love,
clothes, sleep.
safety.
Yes. And some of these
Water.
basic needs are disregarded when we overfocus on the spiritual, disregarding our physical.
Our physical vessel, yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That it's not that we need to subdue our mammalian nature and have a disdain for it, but to realize we're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're spiritual beings living a human experience. So we need to have awareness of those physical needs and realize that that's not the ultimatum. Ground and source, but don't disregard the
balance.
physical needs. Love yourself. Part of that is loving your physical side. Love that. I love that.
I felt so cool when you gave me I felt like the Rogan's guy, Jamie.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what I was trying to
And
do.
you did it the second time, and I had it ready, but I didn't feel like I was ready. I couldn't jump in. Your guys were in deep in thought. I was like, okay, but I got it.
He's so fast.
Concupiscence.
Yeah, strong sexual desire or lust. Yeah.
Tendency to
But,
sin.
yeah. Let's not do that one. But yeah, I got one plug. Yeah.
All right. Let us know when we're ready. We're ready? We're in this? Okay, so, Steven, anything else? Yeah, anything else? Oh! The last thing I'll say about taking spiritualization too far is, one, I thought what you said, I just want to reiterate, not forgetting our physical vessel, not forgetting that we are human beings, not forgetting that we are animals, essentially. We're going through our spiritual experience, but loving ourselves and catering to our physical needs was so well said, and I'm glad you said that. That's one thing. The other thing I'd say, and this is something that I actually shared with Sam, shout out to Sam, who's been helping us film this amazing video. I hope you guys are enjoying this quality. Sam is excellent in what he does, and we are so blessed to have him as a feature of today's show. But as you detach from things in your life that grab hold of you, right? And we all have different things. We all have different attachments. As you detach, the key is that you stay grounded in source. And a lot of times, when you bring more awareness to this spiritual world, you can kind of lose everything.
What do you
Your
mean
feet-
grounded
your
in
feet-
source?
Grounded in God, grounded in love, grounded as an individual, to where you are still flowing, you're still open to different spiritual concepts as they come.
Open
But-
to newness.
Open to newness, open to nuance, open to change, open to possible rejection of your identity, ego, precepts, understandings, frameworks you've established for yourselves your entire lives. Openness to rejecting the narrative that you've told yourself, which for most people is scary as hell. Because they're stepping into this unknown territory and they don't know which way to turn.
And possibly letting go of
Possibly letting go.
identity.
But the key, though, as you become more spiritually aware, is to not, like, there are negative spiritual forces. You said it, that Satan rules this world. Like, there is evil, there is darkness that you could fall into. So I think it's really important to stay grounded, to stay rational. Just because we're spiritual does not mean we forego reason. Just because we're spiritual doesn't mean that we forget the scientific method. Just because we're spiritual does not mean that we just accept things willy-nilly. We still apply a healthy level of acceptance and skepticism to ascertaining real truth. You have to still be a reasonable person, level-headed, grounded, while still doing the spiritual walk. And if that is the mindset, that's the mantra, I think that will work against taking it too far. So that's all I wanted to say about having spirituality go too far. I really enjoyed leaning into that side of myself this weekend, because normally when I'm working or with other friends, that itch is not scratched. That part of me is not enacted. So it's we're all craving deep spiritual feeding. We are spiritual beings. It's inside of us all. It is. and it's beautiful to feel. But that's all that I wanted to say. That is really all that I wanted to share. Is there anything else that you feel compelled to share, remark about, ask, anything?
Yeah, one thing that is one of the deepest realizations that I've experienced that has really shaped my perspective on life that I'd like to share is that about this concept that is addressed in the Vedas, this ancient manuscript that was created prior to the Bible, is the term of the gunas, which are...
Gunas.
Gunas, G-U-N-A-S.
I'm not familiar with gunas. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the gunas...
Sounds like the Goonies.
Yeah. Very
Not the
different.
Goonies.
Very different.
Very different, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the
what's the
gunas
gunas?
are They are the energies which pervade throughout all existence,
That sounds very vague.
but also complete. It is vague in that we don't really know what they are. We don't see them. We experience them.
Okay.
We see them manifest in different forms, but not in their isolated state. It is usually a kaleidoscope.
Okay.
And they are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is the energy of purity that these bhakti yogis, which I referenced earlier, those on the path of devotion to enlightenment, focus on. The energy of rajas is an energy of passion and creation,
Got it.
often seen in fire, for example.
Hmm.
The middle of the day, for example, the time of the day where we feel most in alignment with creating and doing work.
Middle of the day? That's when I get tired and want to nap.
So you get tired and want to nap because of the other guna, which is tamas.
Thomas, okay.
So
This is all novel information. to me.
as I shared, these three energies are usually not isolated. They're usually a kaleidoscope, but
Kaleidoscope.
a kaleidoscope of the three. However, oftentimes one of the three is pervading.
Oh, like, okay, kind of like overpowering?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know about all this Hindu
Most
doctrine?
prominent. I did my yoga teacher training in Ecuador in January of 2020, right before
With Mark
with Mark.
in Ecuador.
In Ecuador. At Om Healing Center in Cuenca, we went to a wonderful permaculture farm to experience this 30-day, 200-hour teacher training, which was, the International Yoga Teacher Training is rooted in education from the Vedas, not necessarily Hindu by nature, but Hinduism is also stemmed from these ancient manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
So the Vedas are where yoga comes from. And, you know, I grew up in a Christian household
Yeah.
where everything that wasn't Jesus was considered pagan or
Yeah.
Satanistic, including yoga.
I don't think that's helpful for like, just honestly, evangelization. How are you going to talk about Jesus if you can't even relate to anyone else because it's evil to learn about anything else?
Right.
It doesn't seem. It just seems so fear-based. Preservation of like the ego through this understanding that it's like through Christ and Christ alone, which is true, but it's it feels so divisive. It doesn't feel enlightening.
Well, I believe Jesus was a lot more expansive in
Yes.
his life.
Why are we
than-
limiting this salvation of God?
Right. This may
I
be
don't know.
controversial.
I don't get it. Yeah,
but
this might be controversial.
I believe that Jesus was a yogi. He was the
He's
example of model yogi. In the Hindu religion, they speak of Shiva in
The
a
destroyer.
similar way. As the
Or
first,
no, is Krishna no, Shiva's the destroyer.
Mhm.
Shiva, Krishna, and Brahman.
There's a lot of other ones too.
I thought those were the three under Brahma. Brahma, Shiva, Krishna,
Vishnu.
and Vishnu. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I can still see it in my
Krishna,
notes, but
Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva.
whatever. I don't know.
Not positive. Not as
Hare,
educated
Hare.
in the Hindu religion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna simply means praise God.
Praise God.
Praise
Oh,
God.
Krishna, but Krishna is God?
Yes.
But
An
it's a-
avatar of God, just as Jesus was an avatar of God.
I gotta learn more about it just to understand it. It's been
Yes,
a while.
back to the gunas.
Yeah, back to the
So
Gunas.
the reason why I want to bring the gunas up is that they've helped me to see the world through a neutral lens
Mm.
of energy being energy.
Is that neutral?
It's objectively sattva, rajas, and tamas.
Okay.
So I can perceive it neutrally
Okay.
rather than charging it and saying this person is behaving this way and I want to judge them because of their behavior. I can now step back and recognize
Yeah.
These are the gunas at play.
So this is a framework you use. This is very interesting because Stephen goes to a Christian church. He calls himself a Christ follower, but he is adopting Hindu principles. Very atypical.
I would say principles that the Hindu religion has adopted. Now, principles are not tied to a religion. Truth is.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree. Truth
A
is
religion may try to trademark or patent
truth,
a truth,
but it just is.
but they can't because they didn't create that truth.
Yeah, I agree. That's very, very spot on. Well said.
Thank you. So, are you familiar with the map of consciousness created by?
You mentioned it before. I only know it through you, but you can talk about it if you like.
It's a similar lens as the map of consciousness, but the map of consciousness is based in a lot more scientific and statistical evidence
Yeah.
that those who may not be so willing to believe in the metaphysical terminology that we're discussing here can receive understanding through kinesiology. Kinesiology is the study of
Like the body, right?
the body, right?
Yeah.
The body, its movements. And through kinesiology and muscle testing, are you familiar with muscle testing?
No.
Muscle testing is basically, first you calibrate a human body by testing it to see if it responds with strength or weakness to a certain question, statement,
The body responds to a statement?
projection. Yes. So for
What are
example,
you talking about? Like I say apple and then your knee twitches? Like what are you saying?
A question, yes. A question.
That sounds weird.
Is this
dude.
an apple? Your body responds. If I'm holding a teapot, it's not an apple.
Well, I will say maybe he's not crazy because if you tell someone they're gonna have milk and you give them orange juice, then they'll throw up. That's like a thing.
Yes.
Don't try this at home, but I think it is a thing.
Yes,
So maybe
it's
you're right.
on that
Maybe you're
topic,
not. Maybe you're not crazy.
yeah. So
Continue.
the map of consciousness is a logarithmic scale from 0 to 1000 that references the vibration or the states of being of different emotions, different people, different concepts, and including truth. Now, this was all created through over 1 million different experiments that were 100% replicable from the results they received. For those of you watching and who are familiar with statistics, 100% replicability is
Unheard of.
It's not only rare, but seemingly impossible with over 1 million tests. So there's a very high confidence interval in this evidence. Of course, with the scientific method, it only takes one time to disprove something for it to be proved false, but that hasn't happened. Nonetheless, through the calibration of a human body, because humans are all connected through collective consciousness, which is what this.
Oh, should we talk about that?
I'm just explaining.
I love talking about collective consciousness and the collective.
The map of consciousness demonstrates that collective consciousness exists. It is.
It's
real.
such a beautiful concept because it back to what we were saying before. It's to that unifying aspect of love, like collective consciousness. We are all part of collective consciousness.
Right.
We are all called to unify under God, under love.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful interplay.
Yeah. You can read about.
A lot of these things are all related.
Yeah, it is. It's
You
all
know,
connected.
and like you're talking about the Vedas and Christianity.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. we're like we said at the beginning, we're just trying to lead each other home. We are leading each other home. We're coming back
Yeah.
to union. Yoga means union.
I thought it meant breathe.
No.
Oh. What am I thinking? Yoga means union?
Yoga means union.
Okay. I'm anti-union, but I love yoga. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, anything else?
If you want to learn more about this map of consciousness, there's a book that Dr. David Hawkins wrote after all of these studies and results called Power versus Force.
I love this. So, guys, this is Durbin. This is Grant's mini golden doodle. And as many of you know, I have a real soulmate at home. Her name's Lucy Lou. And this is her twin. And it's honestly helped my separation anxiety for Lucy because Durbin and I have an instant connection as well. I think she smells Lucy on my pants, but maybe more than that, she sees the golden doodle lover in my heart. That's what I'm hoping for. But anyway, anything else?
We can leave it at that.
We can leave it at that. Guys, thank you for watching. Stephen, thank you for this conversation. I mean, it's not a rare conversation. These are how most of our conversations go. But it is fun to do it in this forum. It is hopefully, as our intention is that this is a meaningful dialogue that helps just people think. Helps people hopefully know God more. That's our purest want, is that our love of God can help inspire others' connection to God.
Keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions and just find people that invite that and accept that and love that and will do the walk with you. I am so thankful for you, Fish. You have been a friend, you've been a brother, you've been a mentor, you've been a mentee, you've been everything that I could ask for in a friend in the last 18 months of our experience together, and so much is happening, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited to do this walk with you and others that we will bring alongside us. So thank you for watching. Special thanks to Grant for this space, for the house for the weekend. He has been a gracious host. And a special thanks to our new filmer today, Sam. He, honestly, the quality, as you guys can tell, is a step up than we've had before. So it is such a blessing to have you, Sam. We appreciate it. I hope this is not the only time that we experience you in this walk. I hope if this is something resonant that we can work together in the future to accomplish our larger mission. So thank you guys for watching, and God bless. Derps!
I'm gonna cry. I'm moved. That was
I wanted to
amazing.
say thank you. I didn't want to interrupt
Yes,
you, but I wanted to
good.
say thank you for having
That was
me.
good.